if you just look around and just take this little thought experiment, you look around your environment. It could be the house, the car, the job, the streets, whatever, society, and imagine what's actually just living and changing and blossoming. So this is all particles. This is all atoms. This is all energy. From cells, that are carbon, to air molecules, to human beings, to the trees, to nature, to animals, whatever. That's all just happening. It's just life blossoming, happening this way. And human beings, of course, with our clever brains, have started to participate in this story and turned it into objects, all separate objects that we control. So we run around and we make things. Human beings are brilliant. They're very clever. We make cars, we buildings and streets, and we've organized, we've changed the structure of what's going on in this natural environment to make objects that we think are important. And they certainly facilitate moving through this society we live in. We're human beings, and that's the society we live in. But if you just broke it down to what's actually there before these objects are made, and just look at what's going on. Nature, it grows. It knows how to do it spontaneously. Life knows how to grow. Animals, insects, even bacteria, all the energy and molecules, it all knows what to do. It's an intelligent expression of life. Human beings have got caught up in this idea that we've created objects out of our minds, which we make firstly into ourselves. So I am me, I'm separate because I think. Okay, I'm over here and I think, and they're over there and they're different. They're a different life somehow because I think that way. So we've created this idea of I am a me. I'm an entity. I'm separate, a separate entity. And it's really, yeah, I am. I'm a separate entity. That's what I think. That's how I feel. Everything we do in society reinforces it. We make objects, and it's all like all these objects reinforce the play. It's like a big play in life. And all these objects just reinforce this idea of objects and separation. But actually, it's all just a play of the mind. It's all just coming from the imagination of the beautiful human mind. Now, life is here. Life is here as a human being. And when a baby's born, it doesn't think, I am me. A baby's born and it's just life. Just life doing what it's doing. If you stopped a bird or an animal on the street and said, are you? The bird and animal would just go, oh, I'm just doing what I do. I'm just life. I don't think about that. I don't need to. It's just happening. And that's actually what's really happening. Human beings have created this entity that we call me and my and I and mine. And it's just an imagination. The life that's expressing is valid. All the feelings and sensations and thoughts, they're all valid. They're all happening in a way. It's just not happening to a separate I. That's the part that is the illusion. We think we are a separate I. And the experience of that is fine. None of this is wrong. It's not bad or wrong or missing something. It's just what's happening. But if it can be seen or looked at, that who is actually the entity that has always assumed to be participating and interpreting all of these things, it's only found in thought, in imagination. So a human being, this life, I'll take this example. John is born, okay? John's a baby, doesn't know anything, just his life, just energy, just intelligent energy expressing as life this way. Could be particles of air, could have been an animal, could have been water, could be rock, could be anything, could just be atoms, could just be energy, but it's just coalesced in this way for what I don't know why, as a human being. And this human being has the capacity the biology has the capacity to move through life, to learn, but it's actually life learning. It's not an entity called John that's learning. It's just a summary. It's a summary of what's actually life in this human body doing stuff. So when a human being is born, it doesn't know that it's a separate human being. It's just life. And it's so intelligent, and it learns from its environment and what's been set up around it. And it's taught from a very young age, you are a separate you. You are you. You are separate. You are a separate entity. The child doesn't really know. The child's a sponge. It learns and it absorbs from its parents' environment what's really going on, and or what's supposedly going on. And eventually the child at about 18 months goes, okay, all right, I get it. Yeah, I can see how I stub my toe and it hurts. I can see how that's my toy and I want it and no one else should take it, because we have this instinct for survival which says I need to gather stuff, I need to hold more stuff to make me safe and survive. So I'll gather stuff, food, resources, whatever, and all of that just gets tangled up in this idea of I that they're taught from society and their parents and their own experience of wanting stuff to stay alive. But that birth is actually a birth of a body. It's not the birth of an entity. The entity is thought. It's thought created. It's a ball of thoughts. It's not actually real. It's a real experience, but it's not actually. There is no entity. And that's what the tricky thing here is to start with. That a lot of people, not many people, look into this. It's still not a very widely investigated thought process or exploration. It just doesn't seem to be very popular, because what this does is it diminishes the idea of a self, which most people don't really want to do. Most people go into spirituality because they want to be a more special, separate entity that we've created in thought. And I like that, because somehow tangled up in all of that means I survive better, because my body needs to survive. That's an instinct that this biology has. It needs to survive. It needs to get stronger and stronger in gathering and looking after the entity of the body, which is a separate, the instinct for survival of the biology is a very strong thing. And that's all tangled in thoughts of I am this body. But actually, if it's looked for, it's life doing this. It's a life, intelligent life learning as a human being. So what's actually born, if we look at what's born, the natural, or the most common, I'd say, human thought process is, okay, I was born, okay, and I live, if I never look into this, I live as this entity that's been created in thought. I live, and that's my story. That's the play. That's the story that I believe totally to be me, experiencing that. And life goes through. If that's never looked at, that just stays that way. And then when it gets closer to dying, or if somebody dies around you, there's sorrow and there's heartache and there's all this, because this entity is going to die. So what is actually born is some life as a human being, expressing with all its intelligence, but it's actually the same life. We confuse it to being me, I was born. So it's very, the habit pattern of the human body to hang on to this and to just feel that this is absolutely real is very valid. It doesn't take any, I've got 2 daughters, it doesn't take anything away from the experience of being a parent, sharing love with your family and offspring. But it's all intelligent life. It's open, intelligent life interacting. And the entity of I in thought is added on. It's layered on top. It works. It helps society interconnect and do stuff, but it's not real. It's a real experience, but it's not real. There is no entity. If you look for it, you can't find that entity. It's a thought process. And so if we look at this again, who is born actually? There's some biology that's born, which is a beautiful, intelligent expression of life. With all its characteristics and individualities, it's beautiful, it's amazing. It's like pretty miraculous how human beings can all be so individual or unique. Because the complexity of what goes into making a mind and a brain react the way it does in life and all the experiences it interacts with is so infinitely complex. So our biology is born. We get to 1.5, 2 years old. It is an I. We live as that story. We live as the story, basically, throughout all of that life until for whatever reason, that human being, that life, that intelligence starts to look into its very nature and goes, where is this? And what is this I that I keep referring to? And it's, for some reason, this starts to look into itself. If it looks into itself and it starts seeing that that is a thought process, I am a thought. It doesn't take anything away from the expression of life. Actually, what it does is all of the things that hook onto that I thought don't have anything to hook onto anymore. And then it's a more open flow of life doing what it's doing with all its complexity and beauty. So that's the story of I that most human beings go through life. The story of I am me. And then eventually that can fall away. For some human beings, it doesn't fall away, perhaps until the last breath, when there can be no longer hanging on to that story. It just has to be surrendered. The individual, I use the individuated as a life expression here. It's an individuated perspective of life. It's just one way of explaining it. Any words we say aren't going to be explaining it properly. But the baby that is born is just life. It gets to a stage where it learns it is an entity, it is a story, and it goes, yeah, that's good. I'm taught that anyway. Society reinforces that. I feel like that with my instincts because it feels right. And then that goes on until there can be a time when it just goes, hang on a sec, this is a story. This vibrance of life is happening. It's completely unbounded. It's actually the entity that I take myself to be is a story. And the form that is formed in a body comes and goes, but the life, the expression of life that's flowing through it, that is animating through it, it's not born. It doesn't die. It's part of this. It is all of this. Everything is this. Everything is this vibrant, intelligent energy called life. We call it life. It can be whatever you like. I've said it before, from some other things I've done. I don't understand. This is unknowable, by the way. I don't understand it as this individual person called John. Okay, the idea called John, the thought called John, the story called John. This is a reference point. Doesn't matter. This is how we communicate. But what can happen when this is looked into? The importance of the character, if it's not believed, it just dissolves. There's no one there really. There's the intelligence of life with all of its experiences here, responding to the next thing that happens. But the I thought, it can't be found. It's like an echo. And all that happens is every time there's self-referencing thoughts that I should have done this, I didn't do that, or I wanted to do it better, I should have controlled that. It just goes, well, actually, that's not really true. Because that one that is supposed to be doing it is a thought. So if that can be relaxed, then life just flows fluidly, as it's supposed to. It's what's happening anyway. It's what's always happened. That's actually already what's happening. It's just the story of I can cause a lot of suffering because it's like a turbulence, a friction in all of this. So this is what's happening right now. And and this can be called the non-duality exploration, which is we are all one. But it's not really a we are all one, because it's not, there just is. This is complete. What's here is a vibrant, the unit, whatever we want to call it, is vibrantly alive. It's full, complete, and harmonious, and intelligently and mathematically expressing in different ways as human beings as well. So who is born? Life is born in the form of a human body with all its intelligence. It gathers and self-learns and it coalesces experiences. It interacts, has personalities. It's beautiful. It's absolutely beautiful. So this sort of discussion doesn't take anything away from any of that. It actually just opens it up to being more free, more liberated, to be completely expressing and interacting as unbounded as it is. It's only the human mind, with the reference from that entity that we've created in thought, that says, I need to limit it into something that I can understand and know and feel safe with and control. And if it's not in there, then I'm not safe and I could die if I don't understand this. The human mind can't understand what it is because it's completely open. The idea of death from the habit pattern of a whole life, the immediate habit pattern goes, oh yeah, I should fear death. Immediately at the same time, there's this, but who dies? Because that who isn't there, actually. So there is a peace in that. It's not delusional or avoidance. Everything that happens, because this can also be used as what can be called a spiritual bypass. I don't need to deal with anything because I'm not really here. It's not that either. Everything that's happening is acutely experienced openly, just like that meditation at the start. Whatever's passing, whatever's happening is happening. And the idea of you will try and interfere with that. It doesn't matter, because that's just life doing that anyway. It's all life. It's all life just doing what it's doing. So even the most off-center or contracted ideas that we have, it's still just life. So it's not wrong. It's life expressing that way. It's life doing this. It's life doing that. It's life doing this. It's life saying, I don't get this. It's life saying, I do get this now. Oh, beauty, I'm going to be more special. It's all of that. It's all life. Just interacting through the complexity of a human brain and mind. And I don't know how complex this interaction could be.